Primeape going to fire off the Rage Fist, finally looking to move Golurk from the field of play. The opponent invests their final Protect Shield. The opponent probably thinking they've got the higher attack, but Primeape with its monstrous attacks, they're able to win the charge attack priority. Down goes Golurk. Out comes Virizion. If the opponent looks like double kick farm down, which they do, Virizion going to be straight in and straight out. Welcome back to the channel. It has been a hot minute since we've been uploaded, and an even hotter minute since I featured on my own battles. But don't worry, today we have an absolute banger of a video for you with Pokemon getting one shot left, right and centre. Firstly, a huge shout out to my Discord, the Shadow Hub, who peer pressured me into getting back battling. I hadn't really battled in around 2 or 3 weeks. I was chilling watching someone else stream, their battles ended and they said it's time for me to battle. So we actually entered the Go Battle League with this team. And then I remembered just how fun it was. My god, this team has nuke potential all over the place. The combination of both Primeape and Annihilape with that ghost fighting coverage, which is actually currently unresisted in Pokemon Go, just goes such a long way. Despite me actually gaining over 200 ELO and hitting expert rank, which at the time of recording these battles was around 15 points off the leaderboard, I actually could have went so much better. This team has an F for Bolt, which makes it very difficult to play. I think it's kind of one of them teams, the more you use it, the easier it becomes to run. So I think the key to today is do as I say and not as I do. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we see Shadow Drapion into Shadow Steelix. I've got 2 better responses in the back, but a close combat from Primeape will not one-shot, so this chip damage is very much needed. I'm going to tank a charge move, make the pivot into Primeape, and look to bait out the hardest fighting counter. The opponent sends out Poliwrath. Poliwrath now has pedestrian pace into charge moves, being very slow. One close combat won't be lethal, but after a buff with the Rage Fist it will. The question is, does the opponent respect the damage? They do not. Down goes Poliwrath, and we've already claimed our first boom of many to come. Back out comes Steelix. I'm already 1 stage boosted. I could fire up a Rage Fist, but that's boring. We're going to YOLO yet another close combat, forcing the Protect Shield and debuffing our defense, giving them less farm. We send out Annhilape. I am going to tank the first Psychic Fang, as it does come 100% chance to debuff my defense. The opponent sends out Drifblim. We align Drapion with a 2-to-1 shield advantage. We're going to fire off the Crunch. Crunch forces the Protect Shield. Unfortunately, we are approaching Icy Wind range. We've got 2 shields to hide behind it. I'm going to shield this up. Then look to throw out Discipline timing. So using a 2-turn move into a 3-turn move, it's 1, 4 or 7. Occasionally that isn't the case, as we constantly get 1 turn bring in, but just go with that. Again, I am going to shield at this Icy Wind. I'm going to anticipate the opponent looking to snipe with Steelix. The opponent goes to the attempted snipe. We send out Annihilate, catch the charge move. Again, we've already seen Psychic Fang won't be lethal. We get a Simul KO. Best case scenario, we've got the Crunch banked, and we're going to be off to a very quick 1-0 start. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see the ever annoying, ever bulky Zygarde, aka Optimus Prime. I'm going to fire off 7 Poison Stings, fire off the Crunch. I'm looking for some chip damage. Zygarde doesn't really get dented too much. Let's be honest, this thing never dies. I then make the pivot into Primeape. The opponent farm up to a potential Outrage. Primeape might be glassy, but thankfully Zygarde hits like a wet noodle. The opponent then sends out Gastrodon. I'm just going to full send the close combat, looking to do maximum damage and minimise the farm they get. Of course, Drapion doesn't want to re-enter the field of play, as Mud Slap will be doing massive damage. I send out Annihilate. The opponent farm up to a potential Earth Power, which I am going to respect. We correctly shot the Earth Power. We're then going to be able to get the full counter farm down, getting a very nice running start on energy. Zygarde re-enters the arena. Close combat actually from this range wouldn't be lethal, believe it or not, which is kind of absurd as we are a Shadow Annihilate. We are just going to go Rage Fist, spamming it out as soon as we get it at good timing, looking to boost up our attack. The opponent opts to invest the Protect Shield. I'm more than happy to shield this up as I am heavily boosted. The opponent fire off the Bulldozer, unable to reach another move. The opponent sends out Licky, far too thicky. The opponent getting torn apart. We then make the pivot into Drapion, go for the combo play, banking the close combat in the process. We fire off the Aqua Tail, which the opponent doesn't shield. They can't hold back-to-back Earthquake, so thankfully Earthquake will be removing me from the field of play. The opponent go for the undercharge, allowing Drapion to reach the Aqua Tail, which does force their final protection. The opponent looks for the rollout farm down, which they're unable to get. Kind of a scuffed endgame, but it is what it is, and I emerge victorious. GG's. Heading into the next battle, we see Drapion into Giratina. This is the Dragon Breath variant, so the opponent can stay in if they wish, as the Dragon Breaths do objectively more than my resisted Poison Stings. We fire off the Crunch, force the Protect Shield. I'm going to tank the Dragon Claw and then make the pivot into Primeape. Once again checking if they've got a potential fairy type. The opponent actually is the one to make the pivot, sending out Gator. So we're going to fire off the Crunch. Crunch goes unshielded and we send out Primeape. Primeape can tank a Hydro Cannon from the non-Shadow variant of Gator reasonably well. The Shadow, not so much. Again, I don't think a Rage Fist will be lethal, so we're going to go for the correct play. Full send the close combat, guaranteeing the knockout or the Protect Shield. The opponent invests that Protect Shield, then send back out Giratina. The super spammy Primeape, still not done. Fires off the Rage Fist, rocking Giratina deep into the red. I'm going to send back out Drapion, just to use it as a damage sponge. I'm going to tank this charge move and make the pivot into Annihilate, looking to get ahead on energy. The opponent not wanting to get farmed down, send out Virizion. In this battle of fighters, Annihilate sub-ghost type in means we're in a very dominant position. The opponent opts not to shield the first Rage Fist, as of course subsequential ones after that will do even more damage, but you can see these counters are now just doing far too much to Virizion as they've already found themselves into the red health range. The opponent finally invests to Protect Shield, but they're running out of HP. Annihilate still with its 2 shields to hide behind, finally going to invest one here. The opponent combos into Giratina just to get counter farm down. Back out comes Virizion, that gets counter farm down as well, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see G-Weezy in the lead. I absolutely hate this lead. I very rarely shield Drapion, however every time I have shield I've been Brutal Swing baited. And let's take this example. I'm going to call the Brutal Swing, and of course I get nuked. Ouch. I'm then going to make the pivot into Primeape as these Fairy Winds are now debuffed. This again is going to be an overheat, even debuffed. It'll do around half my health, so I'm going to invest a Protect Shield. Out comes Gator. Unfortunately, as they got a 0-turn swap, as they threw a charger, I'm not going to be able to reach the double close combat. I'm still YOLOing it regardless. Close combat, rocks Gator deep into the red health range. The opponent fires off the Hydro Cannon, but they're certainly in a range where Drapion can Poison Sting him all the way down. I send out Drapion, get that Poison Sting farm down, getting a whole heap of energy, and I really hope that G-Weezy re-enters the field of play. G-Weezy does re-enter the arena, and we're going to start spamming at Aqua Tails. The first one goes unshielded. I'm really hoping this next one goes unshielded as well. The opponent invests that Protect Shield. I'm thinking, can I reach one more? I cannot, and I've made a huge mistake. Once again, I'm going to look to call the bait. The opponent goes 2 for 2 on nuking me. I think this team is so heavily reliant on correctly shielding nuke moves and calling baits, and unfortunately for me, we made all the wrong decisions in this battle. We do reach the double Rage Fist, but unfortunately the opponent gets their Fairy Wind through. I can't complain, that's how the game's intended to work, and the opponent plays very well and we take a loss. GG's to that opponent. In the next battle, we see Golisopod in the lead. The opponent say switches into Donphan, and I send out Primeape. Again, it's bait versus nuke. I very rarely bait. Oh man, and that is why the opponent calls it, which is kind of brutal. I'm happy to shield once and look to exchange shields with my opponent. I think Annihilate does function better if the opponent has less shields to hide behind. I fire off the next Rage Fist. The opponent invests that Protect Shield. The opponent doesn't throw the Body Slam, allowing Primeape to win the charge attack priority. And just like that, we're going to get switch or all shields down. The opponent goes all in on Donphan. Primeape, thank you very much for your contribution. Of course, I don't want to take double boosted Mud Slaps on Drapion, so we send out Annihilate, get a free count, a running start. Golisopod re-enters the arena. We're going to bank the close combat, look to catch the aerial ace back onto Drapion. The opponent reveals they've actually got X-Scissor, so it's likely liquidation as their next move, and Hippowdon enters the field of play. As the Shadow Hippo, I can already see my wink on. 2 Aqua Tails will be lethal. The opponent farm up to a Scorching Sand. I do not care if they bait here. The opponent does go for the bait, and then it's important that I overfarm by 1. It's really important to overfarm by that 1 Poison Sting, because we need to be able to outpace Golisopod when it re-enters the arena, as this Crunch will put them into close combat range. Once the Crunch lands, I'm going to stop tapping, wait for the opponent to start their Shadow Claw, go for the combo play, and close combat is going to be all she wrote. GG's that opponent. In the next battle, we see G-Weezy in the lead. Jamie Finn, it's your chance at redemption. Let's not balls this one up. I always farm to 6, looking to bait a Sludge Bomb. I'll be honest, no one respects it, but we like to at least try and force shields where we can. Again, we're going to call the bait. The opponent again full send, but thankfully it's just a Play Rough. Play Rough doesn't do anywhere near as much as an overheat. We're going to fire off 1 further Aqua Tail. The opponent still needs to throw a Play Rough. Brutal Swing, it won't knock out Trainer, I promise. The opponent gets greedy, going for the Brutal Swing. Drapion able to withstand the damage, and it looks like we can actually win the 0 shield scenario. As I'm on an ABB team, I do make the pivot into Primeape, and out comes Gator. I'm going to invest 1 Protect Shield and see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent pivots out into Gastrodon. Close combat does around 60%, so we're going to fire off the Rage Fist, and much like the first battle where we saw Poliwrath, the second time we are full sending. Does the opponent respect the damage? They do not. Down goes the snail, and this game looks signed, sealed and delivered. I'm not actually going to debuff myself here. I'm just going to fire off the Rage Fist, looking to try and force the opponent to throw. The opponent actually opt not to throw, allowing us to reach one further Rage Fist, and they very quickly find themselves all shields down. We send out Annhilape, try to make the catch back onto Drapion, just because I think catching's funny. Unfortunately, I'm unsuccessful, but we're still going to be alright here. The opponent's going to need to reach 2 further Hydro Cannons that they simply do not have the energy for. We tank the Hydro Cannon, receive the energy for the Rage Fist, and we are going to emerge victorious. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Pidgeot in the lead. This is very much where the team wants to see it. I'm going to go straight for the crunch after 5 poison stings, which is good timing, although you do give the opponent 2 free turns, but that's the best you can hope for. I'd love to call this, but I am going to respect it, as my backline doesn't want to tank the gust damage. The opponent, of course, go for the Feather Dance bait, but as we got the debuff, this crunch still will be lethal, unless the opponent invests a Protect Shield. They do not, and we are spamming the switch, looking to pivot out into Primeape. The opponent sends out Licky, far too thicky, then send out Steelix. One close combat isn't lethal, so you should go for the Rage Fist first, but the second time, there is going to be no messing around, trainer. I am going to look to nuke you. I'm going straight for it. You know the question. Does the opponent respect the damage? They do not. Down goes Steelix. Licky, far too thicky, re-enters the field of play. I think as soon as I show him Annihilate, the opponent's probably going to top left. We'll wait out my clock, just so I've got the potential to make a catch that I don't need to make. The opponent already had enough, and they concede the match. In the next battle, we see another Giratina. Interesting enough, this is another Dragon Breath variant. Dragon Breath makes it worse for Drapion, but better for my backline, so it kind of is what it is, you can't complain. We're going to force a shield, or just look to knock him out, and then make the pivot into Primeape. We tank the Dragon Claw, over farm, just slightly, by 1 poison sting, as there's going to be 6 to each Dragon Claw. We force that Protect Shield, and there's the pivot into Primeape. The opponent continued to stay in, but we're not worried about this move. It isn't a Shadow Force, and Dragon Claw not going to do much whatsoever. The opponent tried for the Rage Fist catch onto Berserker. Oh boy, trainer, you're in trouble. We farm up to the double CC. Yet another big boom. Back out comes Giratina. Primeape able to fire off the Rage Fist on the CMP side. Primeape absolutely popping off. Giratina gonna dump his energy. Dragon Claw does secure the knockout. I'll be honest, I was laughing so much in this battle. I'm not actually intentionally waiting out my clock. I'm just trying to recompose myself. Drapion re-enters the field of play. Crunch removes Giratina from the battlefield. It's Registeel in the back. And just like that, that's going to be all she wrote. I really wish Niantic would make some attempt to make this game work as intended, because sometimes it is hella fun. We see Steelix in the lead. I attempt to throw on the CMP tie to the break-in swipe, but the opponent opts not to throw, so we're just going to double Aqua Tail, pivot into Primeape, baiting out Annihilate. In this battle of monkeys, the opponent does double resist our quick move. However, these Rage Fists come very, very quickly after just 8 turns or 4 quick moves. I've already managed to force a protection off the opponent. As my Primeape is a rank 1, 5-15-15, I fancy his chances of making 2 further Rage Fist. If the opponent get greedy and look for the full counter farm down, we reach the next Rage Fist, forcing the opponent's final protection. The opponent taking no chances, just going to insta-throw the Rage Fist. Rage Fist secures the knockout. Speaking of IVs, my Annhilape is so scuffed. It's like a 12-10-10 or something. I fancy my chance at winning CMP, but I'm worried the opponent might look to make a catch. So I anticipate that. I go for the catch, and the opponent also goes for the catch. This is only a Psychic Fangs, but I'm thinking if they've got fast move pressure in the back, I am going to have to shield. I'm looking top right. If it's Annihilate, I'm insta-throwing, anticipating winning CMP. It's actually a Shadow Gator, so with that in mind, we're going to get off as much counter damage as we can. Close combat picks up the one-shot. Do win CMP. Yes, we do. Thank you very much for your scuffed IVs, Annihilate, and we take that game. Both monkeys getting another big boom action. In the next battle, we see a Shadow Drapion lead. The opponent save switches into Primeape, and I'm thinking this could potentially be a mirror team, as I did post this team last season. I'm actually more than happy just to stay in here. The opponent is going to have to full send a close combat to remove me from the field of play. The opponent actually go for the Rage Fist bait, which means we're going to force ourselves a shield advantage here. Aqua Tail does force me that Protect Shield. Again, the opponent still needs a close combat. Even a boosted Rage Fist won't get the job done. The opponent once again fire off the Rage Fist, Drapion calling baits all over the shop. The opponent goes all in on Primeape and do get that counter farm down. I've already decided this is a mirror team, so we're just going to sack Primeape and put it all on a 2-shield Annihilate to clean up. Make sure you note that. 2-shield Annihilate to clean up. Jamie Finn is famous for not using his shields, and I'm pretty much spoiling this video, but what do you think is going to happen? There's the Annihilate. Of course, Rage Fist is going to do even more damage after the buff, so I'm not going to shield this move, and I instantly regret it. Jamie, what are you doing? Despite me double resisting counter and single resisting the poison stings, we're very much in danger of getting poison stung farm down. I wait the turn, trying to make sure the opponent doesn't make a catch, but we didn't see the counter, so that was a potato play. My win con now counter farming down Drapion, leaving with the Rage Fist. We simul KO and we take a loss, but GG's to that opponent. Very cool team. We had the Shadow Annihilate, they had the Shadow Primeape. In the next battle, we see Talonflame in the lead. The opponent say switches into Gator. We're going to fire off the Crunch the first time, then make the pivot into Primeape. The opponent end up playing to the CMP side. They do not win, as they've got a debuff defense. Rage Fist I thought would be lethal. That's a miscalculation. However, it kind of is what it is. I would have much preferred to leave healthy. But like this, we can just fire off the close combat. After 4 karate chops, meaning after debuffing our defense, the Incinerate will knock us out, and we've actually put him into Aqua Tail range. I send back out Drapion. The opponent farms up the potential Brave Bird. They could Brave Bird and dip. They actually go for the Fly. Then make the pivot into U-Fisk. We're going to fire off the Aqua Tail, which is super effective. Then look to catch the Mud Bomb onto an Annihilate. Rebanking some of our energy in the process. We do exactly that, making the catch onto our Angry Ape. We've misaligned the timer, and the opponent still has 2 shields, which could be problematic for me. We are going to survive any one move. The opponent actually go for the discharge. It does do more damage. We're going to go straight for this Rage Fist, looking to finally strip a shield off the opponent. The opponent does indeed put up that Protect Shield, then pivot back out into Talonflame. They're able to farm us down. Again, this could be a Brave Bird. We are going to shield and hope that 5 poison stings are lethal. Can we get the sting down? It's going to be close. No! The opponent survived on invisible HP, but were able to survive the Fly. We're at 100 energy. I think I should always throw the Crunch here. Aqua Tail actually does more damage, but Crunch does have a 30% chance to debuff their defense. So in theory, if I would have got the debuff there, this Aqua Tail would have been lethal. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be, and we're going to take back-to-back losses. Heading into the next battle, we see Shadow Gator in the lead. We're going to tank the Hydro Cannon, look to return fire with the Crunch, and then make the pivot into our Primeape. Once again, we pause the turn. I don't know what it is with pausing. I swear it just doesn't visually update. I didn't see the Shadow Claw come through, but as this is a charge attack priority, they certainly got one through. We're able to win the charge attack priority. The opponent invested protection. I'm more than happy to match to keep Primeape healthy, as we are boosted. Drapion now enters the field of play. I'm going to fire off the close combat before the opponent potentially reaches Sludge Bomb. Close combat sneaks through the Protect Shield. Drapion gets one shot vanquished. Back to its Pokeball. Out comes the opposing Primeape. Already 1 stage boosted, so we're just going to spam out Rage Fist after Rage Fist. The opponent not wanting to take any more damage. Opt to throw their own Rage Fist, picking up the knockout. Gator is energy dry, so it's a pretty straightforward counter farm down all the way to the finish. We attempt to make a catch, but the opponent not having any of my nonsense, and they are going to concede the match. Heading into the next battle, we see Daddy Golurk in the lead. This thing is a huge problem for me. I don't even farm to the Crunch. I'd love this Aqua Tail to land, which it does, and then make the pivot into Primeape. I am going to shield up the Shadow Punch, then going to throw 4 Karate Chops and the Rage Fist. The opponent continue to stay in, which they do. Rage Fist, of course, would easily be lethal from here. The opponent invests that protection. Now we're going to have a very tough task of Karate Chop farming them down. Primeape is so insanely spammy. Even after throwing an Aqua Tail and Drapion and then pivoting, we're actually able to win the 2-shield scenario. Because the opponent will CMP to this move. The opponent plays to the CMP tie. They do not win. Finally, Golurk will be removed from the field of play. Out comes Virizion. The opponent needs to throw. The opponent look for that double kick farm down, which they're unable to get. Virizion going to be straight in and straight out. Primeape gets yet another 1-shot. Out comes the tin can. Oh boy, trainer, I am so sorry. We send out Annhilape and the opponent concedes the match. In the next battle, we see Clefable in the lead. Interestingly enough, a Shadow Drapion without a Sludge Bomb apparently does lose this 1-shield matchup. That's because these non-stop Aqua Tails don't really do too much, whereas the neutral Moonblast absolutely claps, as you can see. The first time I did build up to the Sludge Bomb looking to force a shield, which I was unable to get. However, after landing 2 Aqua Tails, with all this Poison Sting damage, they're actually very, very close to Rage Fist range. We end up reaching 1 further Aqua Tail, which the opponent makes a very nice catch of onto Licky, far too thicky, and I send out Annihilate. I am going to respect a potential Shadow Ball, thinking who would Body Slam bait a Ghost type this savage of an opponent. I'm actually at this point just going to double shield counter all the way down, knowing the opponent is going to be in Rage Fist range and they haven't actually got a Moonblast banked. I'm looking top right. If I see Clefable re-enter the arena, I am going to fire off the Rage Fist. The opponent's now received the energy for the Moonblast, and my switch timer should be up, so we're going to look to catch back onto Drapion, banking that energy in the process. That catch felt very good after the opponent body slam baiting me there in the mid game. We're going to send back out Annihilate, look for the counter farm down, out comes Hippowdon. I think LoseCon is the opponent calling a Rage Fist, so we're just going to close combat the shit out of everything. We fire off the close combat, forcing the protection. The opponent is going to have to fire off the Scorching Sands, which they do, but their switch timer isn't up. They're not going to be able to catch Primeape, going to be able to outpace. High Hippo, by Hippo, Clefable, going to get Karate Chop farm down, and we are going to take that game. In the next battle, we see Clefable in the lead, so again we're going to farm to 6, looking to bait the Sludge Bomb. The opponent actually pivots out into Licky, far too thicky, so potentially the same team back to back, which will kind of be random. This time we're going to look to call the Body Slam bait. The opponent actually falls in the nuke, but it's just an Earthquake. We're going to fire off the close combat, which ends up being on alignment. I don't know why that rollout animation always gets me. I think the key is you should count your own quick moves rather than look at the animation. Back out comes Clefable. We're only going to reach 1 move, so we are going to YOLO the close combat, as it does do slightly more and minimises the farm they get. We can now send out Drapion, look to use it as the damage sponge. They're not an Aqua Tail range, I don't think there's any point in throwing it just yet. The opponent then pivots out into Swampert. We're going to fire off the Crunch. Crunch goes unshielded, we pivot into Primeape, we get the defense drop, so of course it's just going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, fire off the Rage Fist and look to boost our way through the remainder of the team. The opponent recognises over and concede the match. In the next battle, we see another Clefable. This is consecutive battles, that is 3 Clefs in a row. Again, we farm to the Sludge Bomb before throwing the Aqua Tail. I think it's kind of crazy how different the 2500 ELO range is to the 27-2800 range. When we started with this team, it was around 2500 ELO when I was playing on stream, and all we were seeing was stuff like Tentacruel. However, as I've climbed, these are like from 26 to 2750 ELO, these battles. I haven't seen a single Tentacruel whatsoever, and I guess with the lack of Tentacruel, it kind of makes sense that Clefable can come onto the field of play. We've seen ground types time and time again, another reason that Tentacruel's kind of non-existent in this ELO range, another reason Clef looks pretty strong. I end up investing a Protect Shield, wanting to keep the alignment as I don't want Primeape onto Clefable. Clefable re-enters the arena, the opponent not willing to shield the boosted close combat that get rock deep into the red health range. We then combo back into Drapion and out comes Moltres. It's going to be death by Aqua Tail. The opponent can have a near impossible task of Sucker Punch farming me down. The opponent actually goes straight for the Ancient Power as soon as they get it. Of course, we're just going to save our final shield for Primeape, knowing we can just go straight nuke in. The opponent's win con is going to be landing a Brave Bird or potentially reaching a Moonblast. The opponent farms their Brave Bird. We've got Annhilape left on low health. Fair play to the opponent. They did full send. Now as a debuff the defense, we're just going to spam Rage Fist through absolutely everything. We Rage Fist, Karate Chop farm down, and the opponent concedes the match. In the next battle, we see another Fairy in the lead. It's kind of funny, isn't it? With no Tentacruel, these Fairies have all come out to play. The opponent say switches into Registeel. The opponent fire off the Zap Cannon. We farm to the close combat bait with the Rage Fist. And here's the fun tech with Shadow Annihilate. You can Rage Fist, counter farm all the way down before the opponent reaches the second Zap Cannon. When Tapu Fini does return, we should actually be able to reach double Rage Fist. And this will come very, very close to knocking out. The first one lands. This second boosted one won't quite be lethal. We'll leave him on fractional HP. We then look to snipe with Drapion. The opponent has the same idea. Send out Talonflame. Drapion with a heavy pace advantage. Just going to spam out Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail. The opponent can Brave Bird me. That'll be the only way it'll be lethal. And if they Brave Bird, Primeape will have no problem cleaning up. They actually just fire off the Flame Charge or potentially a Fly, I'll be honest. I wasn't paying that much attention, but either way, we're going to be able to reach 2 further Aqua Tail. I throw that one after 1 Poison Sting, and I wasn't sure I survived the Incinerate. We actually do survive the Incinerate, so I could have got off the extra Poison Sting, but it doesn't really matter. The opponent farm up to 100 energy. Once again, we're going to make the catch back onto Annihilate. There's the fly. Opponent pivot back out into Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini, what are you doing? This is not a winnable game. We're just going to Karate Chop farm all the way down and throw the BM close combat. The opponent not wanting to get BM'd, concede the match, and we take that game. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's video. I'll be honest, I think some of my plays were pretty questionable, but we are kind of rusty. We don't play all that often anymore, but if a potato like me can pilot this team to expert rank, you can as well. Give it a try for yourself. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new. Consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. A link to my battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.